Artifacts in Ultima Online are named items that come packed with serious stats. Things like spell damage increase or big bonuses to strength. They're the kind of gear that can push your character to the next level, and the very best ones come from specific places. Shadowguard, Doom, BLACKTHORN'S dungeon, DESPISE Trammel, KHALDUN'S dungeon, and various peerless bosses. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to get each of these items, how to stack the odds in your favor, and why these particular pieces are the top picks for either melee or mage-based builds. Now, don't get me wrong, randomly generated high-quality magical items can still be incredible, like jewelry with 18% spell damage increase and other strong stats, but they tend to be a bit uneven, strong in some areas and weak in others. Getting those good random drops really comes down to the challenge of the enemy, things like named mini-bosses, and your character's current luck score. Usually, you'll end up combining imbued or reforged gear with artifacts to hit the highest possible stats, and sometimes that combination is the only way to get there. This matters a ton for melee builds like a Sampire, where the right gear setup can let you solo champion spawns or peerless bosses. Often, it all comes down to one key item that tips the scales toward perfection, like hitting the fastest swing speed with a slower, harder-hitting weapon. If you enjoy this content, please consider giving the video a thumbs up or hitting subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Let's start with Shadowguard. This is a modern dungeon located in the Eidon landmass, made up of a series of rooms that require defeating enemies and solving puzzles. I personally use a fully automated script for this one, which detects what room your character is in and handles all the work for you. It's a huge help if you're planning to run Shadowguard many times, or if you have a physical disability. I'll leave a link to it in the description. At the end, once you've defeated all the end bosses, you're awarded artifacts that drop directly into your backpack. There's a base 20% chance of scoring a random artifact from the list, and a high luck score can bump that up to around 25%. It's common practice to equip a luck suit just before the last boss goes down, usually set up as an auto-equip macro so you don't have to fumble with it mid-fight. For artifacts make Shadowguard worth the run. Hawkwind's Robe, Juma's Sacred Hide, Ozymandias's Obi, and Enchantress's Cameo. Hawkwind's Robe has a nice spread of mage-related stats, with the most important being 5% spell damage increase. Stacking as much SDI as possible is critical for a caster build, and this is one of the pieces that'll get you there. It also comes with 10% lower reagent cost, which takes some pressure off needing that mod elsewhere on your suit. Juma's Sacred Hide is a cloak built for both casters and melee, featuring 5% SDI and 20% damage increase. For fighters, that means you can free up damage increase from other pieces of your gear. Ozymandias's Obi is the best belt slot item for melee, giving you plus 10 to both strength and stamina. High stamina is crucial for reaching those fastest swing speeds on harder-hitting weapons, especially ranged ones, and this item can be the difference maker. Enchantress's Cameo is a talisman for warriors, with 20% damage increase and 5% swing speed increase, along with other helpful stats. Most importantly, it comes with a random Super Slayer property, except for Fae, and when paired with a Slayer weapon, it stacks your Slayer bonus, which can be the difference between success and failure when soloing a champion spawn. Shadowguard is well suited to tamer hybrids like a pure bard tamer or an archer tamer, but keep in mind that some of the end bosses spawn helpers if you attack them with weapons or spells. It's often simpler to just let a pet handle the work. Next up is Doom, a circuit dungeon often called a gauntlet that you can run repeatedly. You slay a mini-boss in each room, from east to west, and then take on the dungeon boss, the Dark Father. Artifacts have a chance to drop every time a boss goes down, based on an accumulating point system as well as luck, and they drop directly into your backpack. Doom runs efficiently with the Sampire, though the build runs the risk of having Blood Oath cast on them, which can mean a quick death unless you counter it with Remove Curse or an Enchanted Apple. A safer alternative is a Bushido Paladin leaning on healing, or a Tamer Hybrid. A pure Bard Tamer in particular can solo Doom without any issues. If you're running the gauntlet in a group, make sure you bring a mount, otherwise you risk missing out on being counted as landing a hit on the bosses, which is crucial to having a shot at an artifact. With the exception of Scholar's Halo, the rest of Doom's top artifacts have to be crafted using lesser artifacts that drop in the dungeon, and the recipe for the item. That takes the highest skill level in blacksmithy or tailoring, plus crafting resources like Blood of the Dark Father, as well as having learned the recipe. Breeches of Warding need the leggings of Bane, gloves of Feudal Grip need the gauntlets of Nobility, and cuffs of the Archmage need Midnight Bracers. Breeches of Warding are best in slot for a melee character with plus 12 stamina, 8 lower mana cost, and 20 in all damage resists. The only real alternative is the legs of the Insane Tinker from the Stygian Abyss through mini-champs. That item is actually better if you're chasing higher swing speed. Gloves of Feudal Grip are a must-have for every warrior, with generous bonuses to strength and stamina and a massive 30% damage increase. Scholar's Halo is non-negotiable for casters. It carries the highest spell damage increase available for the head slot, along with other excellent stats and 15% damage resists across the board. Unlike the other top Doom artifacts, this one drops normally with no crafting required. Cuffs of the Archmage are bone arms that carry a massive 20% spell damage increase plus other solid caster stats. If your caster suit is studded leather, it's worth removing the mage armor stat to pick up 3% passive lower mana cost. Any mage guild master at a mage shop can do that for 250,000 gold. Blackthorn's dungeon is available on both facets. Located under Castle Blackthorn in Britain City. The mechanic here is to defeat groups of enemies spawning in areas around a lighthouse at the center. You need to clear 2 waves of enemies total and damage the lighthouse in 2 stages, once in the middle after the first wave and again at the end. It runs on a turn-in system. Items labeled artifacts of Minax deposit directly into your pack from slaying enemies and mini-bosses, with a high luck score influencing those drops. Keep in mind that drops scale down with group size. The bigger the group, the fewer get distributed, so it's often better to run this duo or solo. Once you've built up several minor artifacts, head to the NPC at the top of the stairs on the Trammel side and use his drop-down menu to turn them in. The best items mostly sit in the 50 to 100 point range. The rewards carry the exact same stats as the named artifacts you'll find elsewhere. The Crimson Cincture replica, for example, normally has a chance to drop from peerless bosses too. For artifacts to target here, Conjurer's Garb, Crimson Cincture, Tangle, and the Mace and Shield reading glasses. Conjurer's Garb is the best standard robe you can get unless you manage to land Hawkwind's robe, and it comes with a very nice 140 luck. Crimson Cincture is an excellent apron for melee builds, with plus 5 dexterity to help hit stamina targets for the highest swing speeds, plus a solid bump to hit points. Can drop from any peerless boss, but Blackthorn's point system is a far more direct route. Tangle is also an apron slot item, but it's built for mages with a great plus 10 intelligence bonus, critical for your mana pool. Mace and Shield reading glasses are good for a melee built's head slot, carrying 30% hit lower defense along with solid bumps to strength and dexterity. Hit lower defense is exactly what it sounds like, helping you land more successful hits over the course of combat. Despise Trammel is an unusual dungeon. It requires training up creatures starting on the first level, then you're teleported to the second level to finish training before taking on the final boss. Except you can't do direct damage to that boss yourself. It all has to come from your pet. The boss has a lot of health, so the ideal setup is grouping with one other player and tackling it as a duo. The boss has a chance to drop some of the best artifacts in the game with a high luck score influencing those chances, and they drop directly into your pack. A Mage Bard is the best build for this fight, using a Bard spell songs to buff the pet, provocation against the boss's summon Wisp, and a mix of healing, buffs, and curses to round it out. 2 standout artifacts from Despise Trammel are the Despicable Quiver and Compassion's Eye. The Despicable Quiver is the single best quiver available with plus 5 dexterity, essential for any archer, plus a plus 5 bonus to archery skill and a few other beneficial stats. Compassion's Eye is the best ring in the base game with the highest luck you'll find on a ring at 250, and the maximum possible spell damage increase of plus 20%, alongside other stats that are extremely beneficial for a caster build. I've previously made a video about Despise Trammel that shows how the dungeon mechanics work if you're interested. KHALDUN'S dungeon is normally a seasonal dungeon tied to Halloween, but it may be available at other times of the year too. Similar to Blackthorn's, turn-in items drop straight into your pack and get exchanged with an NPC at the dungeon entrance. It's available on both facets, but you'll need to complete a quest first, which awards a special necklace you must wear to access the area. On top of that, spellbooks, weapons, and pet food need to be infused with a substance called catalyte, though depending on your build and tactics, that step can be skipped, and I demonstrate how in a previous video. Turn-in items can be earned from slaying any creature in the dungeon, but participating in the champion spawn gives you the best chance at drops, especially from the boss, KHALDUN'S. This champion spawn is noticeably tougher than a regular one, but the early stages can be soloed depending on your build. 2 artifacts to look out for are the Cultist's Ritual Tome and the First Aid Belt. The Cultist's Ritual Tome is the most powerful spellbook available in the base game, carrying a 25% bonus to spell damage increase and coming as a random Super Slayer. The type is randomly selected when you turn it in, and the pool includes Eodon. Compared to the Scrapper's Compendium, which also has a chance at any Slayer type, the Ritual Tome is better because the Slayer property is guaranteed, and all it costs you is turn-in points rather than crafting resources that can be a pain to track down. The First Aid Belt is essentially a weight reduction container built specifically for bandages, usable straight from the backpack or equipped, and it's essential gear for anyone leaning on veterinary or healing. It doesn't look like much, but if you use bandages, you want to carry as many as you can without running out at the wrong moment. and carrying 2 of these belts is the way to go. As a bonus, I'll mention Cora the Sorceress, a mini-boss on the last level of Covetous Dungeon, who has a 30% chance to award artifacts like the Prismatic Lenses or the Hephaestus Shield. Prismatic Lenses are headgear with a solid 25% damage increase and 30% hit lower defense, perfect for melee builds. It's worth having that hit lower defense mod somewhere on your suit, whether it's this item or the mace and shield reading glasses from BLACKTHORN'S. Hephaestus Shield is perfect for melee builds running a shield and a one-handed weapon, with plus 10 to parrying, 15% defense chance increase, and good bumps to lower mana cost and physical damage resistance. And last but not least, the list wouldn't be complete without mentioning Hook's Shield. This one is a must-have for casters. It gives you 10% spell damage increase and 1 faster casting, both absolutely essential stats, plus it's spell channeling and offers a nice bump to defense chance increase. You can get it through the black market vendor in Buccaneer's Den, using a point system similar to BLACKTHORN'S dungeon, but instead of turn-in items, you're spending doubloons that drop from defeating plunder beacons. I've made a video about plunder beacons previously if you want to see how they work. So that rounds out the best artifacts in the non-retail game. There are probably a few more decent items I've missed, so if you've got a favorite artifact that didn't make this list, let me know in the comments.